I'm honored to have been asked to speak tonight at this vigil, and I would like to take a moment to reflect. And I ask for a moment of silence for those we have lost to the disease and those who are still in the throes of this illness without knowing that there is a way out. If you could just join me in a moment of silence, please. Thank you. All right. So I found this quote today while preparing for tonight, and it says, "Work miracles by setting the power of example. Others will catch your spirit. The power of a good example is the greatest miracle working power of all," by Wilfred Peterson. My example is in my story. I was born into this life with an overwhelming, suffocating element of fear. Fear of lack, fear of not being enough, and fear that God would not and could not care for me. I was born to a mother, just 17 years old, who today I believe did the best that she could for me. However, my childhood was filled with tragedy, abuse, and exposure to alcohol and substances. When I saw adults around me drinking and using, I saw them let loose, and within myself, I formed a belief that partying meant freedom from worry and woes. At the age of 10, I had my first drunk and quickly progressed to more and more extreme drinking and drug use. At 16, I began to use heroin intravenously, and I was completely hooked and smothered by my disease. The disease of addiction had overtaken me. I found myself homeless for years of my life and unable to care for my children. My drug debt led me to being extorted by some dealers, and I was swept into a life of sex trafficking for about 3 months of absolute hell. I escaped my traffickers and ran for my life, but running beside me and within me was still my disease. I chose to continue to prostitute myself on the streets of Rochester to simply gain one more. I was trapped deep in the cycle of the disease of addiction. I had been held captive, beaten, raped, and robbed, slept in bus station bathrooms, and when I did sleep. And I lost my mind a few times from going over a week without sleep. I found my refuge in emergency rooms, mental hospitals, and my grandparents' couch. The people who loved me most watched me completely spiral out of control and turn into someone they did not know. In 2012, I finally landed into my first stay at an inpatient treatment center in Batavia, New York. There I was exposed to my first 12-step meetings. Soon after, a halfway house, and then I would get 3, 6, and 9 months clean and relapse. I felt doomed. What was wrong with me? I attended meetings daily, went to outpatient, and still I relapsed. Years went on in this tornado of pain and frustration. It was like a nightmarish merry-go-round, and I just could not get off. In March of 2019, my partner, off and on of 7 years, passed away tragically in a house fire, and I began to dive deep into a hole where the only relief was found in whiskey or vodka. I would black out days on end and not leave a room of darkness. And in that dark room, I said a prayer to a God that I wasn't even sure that I believed in. My prayer was simply, "God, please help me. I do not want to die this way, but more so, I do not want to live this way." And in my drunken stupor, I conceived a baby. What a miracle for a desperate, lonely, broken woman that I was. I had to get some help if I wanted to be a mother. I entered the wellness center in Dansville. I utilized that opportunity to the best of my ability. God appointed me a sponsor, and I accepted. Sorry, I've been so sick. My brokenness birthed an honesty and a willingness to do whatever he said I needed to do to gain freedom from my disease. I began to write my step work and established a relationship with the great spirit of creation, of whom I choose to call God. My life unfolded into a series of miracle after miracle. In 2020, I gave birth to my daughter, Phoenix. I chose that name to remind me of the beauty that God demonstrated within me and in my life when it all seemed so hopeless and a pile of ash. I am a new creation. I am a new being with a new perspective on my life. I enjoy a life of freedom today, freedom from fear and disease. I continue to keep in conscious contact with God, my sponsor, and others who are in recovery. I continue to live my life through the steps and work on anything that pops up, and believe me, things definitely do pop up. Sometimes I fall short, and sometimes tragedies happen, and people get sick. Working with others in recovery means that sometimes we will be struck with the painful reality that not all of us will make it out of active use, and some of us pass away. Recently, this community lost a member of their tribe. Kim Lavasser passed away September 18th, just 1 month ago today. And I remember getting the call from a mutual friend feeling heartbroken. I worked with her for a while, and at that time she was doing well. She shined brightly and had interest in books and crystals and spirituality. I choose to remember Kim that way in her purest form when she was sober. Grief is a powerful emotion. It is fuel, a driving force. When I lost my partner in the fire, I had a choice about what to do with that grief. I could have allowed it to consume me, drive me to misery, and kill me. And instead, I made the choice to live, like really fully live, and bring his memory with me. At each milestone of achievement in my life, big and small, I take a moment to thank that person for adding to my life with his time here and shaping my heart. Today I have a wonderful partner that God sent me, and together we have 6 kids and a beautiful family. I am blessed, and just yesterday Javi celebrated 4 years clean and sober. I often become moved to tears when I think about the miracle that he is. And I challenge those who are feeling the grief of losing Kimberly and any others. I challenge you to grow through that grief. I challenge you to find your strength in love. I challenge you to curate the pain felt and not contribute to it. I challenge you to choose compassion and abandon anger. I challenge you to check in more with others. I challenge you to pray to God like he is your best friend and withhold nothing. I challenge you to rise to your truest potential. I challenge you to create an impact or a ripple that moves out and makes the world stop in awe. They will admire the strength of recovery, the strength of love, the strength of life. Pain is a reminder that we are still alive. We cannot always control the pain that life experience hands us, but we can make a choice about what we are to do with that pain. Choose recovery because you are worth it. Thank you.
At this time, we would like to open mic. Anybody would like to share a story of remembrance of somebody who they've lost or anything? Anybody willing? Pastor Margaret can hand out the mic to anybody. Okay, here, let's get the mic first. All right, we're going to step up to that one. That's fine. You can step to that one. Should be on.
It's on. So my name's Stephen Wilcox. This is my first time being in Dansville, New York. It seems like a very good town, but I'm a patient in the wellness center, and I've struggled with addiction for years. My first addiction, I started drinking when I was about 12 years old, but my true love became opiates, and I raced motocross, and I got hurt a lot, and I got prescribed painkillers very young. A lot of my friends have suffered through addiction. I've lost a lot of friends to addiction. I've met a lot of friends in these facilities and meetings in churches, and it's a blessing, but addiction is also a curse. It's a hard card to be dealt, because I remember losing my best friend at 12 years old to leukemia, and to me that was a disease, and I didn't understand the disease of addiction, because it would frustrate me when somebody would tell me that addiction's a disease, that when you pick up a drug and you die from that drug, that it's a disease. Little did I know that I suffer from that disease. A little less than a month ago, I lost my friend Oliver Young. We did a lot of stuff together. We did a lot of good together. We did a lot of bad together. He owned a company called Felony Form. He had a lot of potential. He made wide body kits for BMWs. He taught me how to drift cars. I taught him how to race motorcycles. We spent a lot of time in the garage, sanding on cars, spent a lot of time driving cars, a lot of time riding motorcycles, but we spent a lot of time doing drugs. one of the hardest things for me was giving up my relationship with Oliver Young when I became into recovery. I quit using opiates in 2018, and I never went back. And I made the mistake of thinking I was different than everyone in the 12-step meeting rooms, and I picked up the alcohol, and I started struggling with that, and I started going to jail. I ended up in institutions again. I went about 9 months before I relapsed and ended up back in jail. I've ended up at the wellness center now, and I'm hoping to do better. I'm hoping to make my family proud. I've recently come to God and had a personal relationship with Jesus Christ that I've never had before, and I'm hoping that's the missing ticket to my puzzle, because I don't want to be another statistic. That's all I got.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Anybody else?
Well, I want to tell you that my dad was alcoholic, very bad, and I was a young kid at the time, and I had to go through that, and my dad ended up in the hospital. I seen my uncle come over because we couldn't get him out of bed or nothing, and he was throwing up blood and that, and I thought that I was going to lose my dad. And I was a young person, and that was, me and my dad is very close. I do a lot for my dad, but I'm glad that my uncle came over and helped us. He got him up, stood him right up against the wall, and got him dressed, and we took him to the hospital, and I wouldn't shut up, so my mom said, just come with us. So I stayed in the waiting room for hours and hours, just waiting to see if my dad was going to stay alive because of the alcohol. He had a bleeding ulcer because of his drinking. And after that day, he went back several times to go get drunk again, and I said one day to my dad, because I says, Dad, you don't need this stuff. Well, one day my brother came from the Air Force to visit us that week, and him and my dad got into it, and they had a little fight at the house. And after that day, my dad said, no more. So he never drank anymore. And he's 92 now, and I still have my dad, and I'm glad for it. And my dad has been raised in a Catholic church, but he doesn't go now. But he knows about it and stuff. And that's what, I always went to church because I knew my dad went. And he was a Sunday school teacher. Can't read very well, but I was a helper in all the churches I ever went to, in the Sunday school classes and wherever they needed me. I just got up, and if I needed it, I seen something that needed to be done, and I just got up and did it.
Okay.
Because I have the Lord behind me.
Right. Thank you. When it comes to remembrance, you're gonna say something?
As quick as I can. can.
Yes, you will. Okay.
All right, guys, so I have an aversion to microphones, even though I like to speak loud. So I'm standing here. I just want to say, so I am a person in recovery. I've worked in the recovery field now almost 7 years. I've certainly seen my share of deaths from this disease, both alcohol and opiates alike. So, but I just want to share on the hope side of this all, right? So the reality is I use this analogy often. It's like way before I even knew, right, what drugs or alcohol was, this seed of addiction was planted in me. And I say by the grace of God and the fellowship of like Alcoholics Anonymous for me. I'm here today in front of you guys, but like the seed of addiction was planted in me long ago. And every time I lied, cheated, stole, manipulated to get more, everybody in my life paid a price for that, including myself, right? But everybody else. And a lot of lives, a lot of damage, a lot of misfortune. Spin it around to recovery on the other side of this now. In this ravenous creature that I had become, this ravenous bush, I call it, like that had destroyed so many lives, and everybody that came near me tried to help me just got tore up by the thorns that I was. In recovery, the thorns turned into berries and fruits and flowers that I was able to share with people and help them. So the very worst part of our stories is of extreme benefit to somebody we might be able to help down the road. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the big piece behind this, right? We all see it. We see the people struggle, then we see the people that get well. Amber shared her story, a little bit of it, right, up here tonight. And that's just it. It's a small piece. But the idea is there's a bunch of us in here tonight that have lived this on both sides. And I know, and I see you guys in here, I know you're here, right? There's hope in this room. Addiction is real, but so isn't recovery, right? So
Yes, it is.
we stay sober and we try to give back where we can and when we can. Thanks.
Thank you. You want to speak? Okay. Margaret? You want to walk up? Okay.
This is probably going to be hard for me, but there's more than just addictions to substances and alcohol, drugs, and all that. I'm evidence of that. For years, I had an addiction, I will say lust. To look at a beautiful woman and have thoughts in my mind that would play tricks on me. But one thing I can say for sure is that I'm thankful for the wife. She's been supportive. And I just want to thank you tell you that I don't care how far, how deep, how long you've been addicted to anything. Come to Christ. He's there. He will help pull you out of it. It might not be right away. Some people sit there and get hit with the Spirit and it's over for them. But others, I can say for a fact that it takes time. You have to keep your eyes focused. You have to keep your mind focused, and you have to be true to God. And I was kind of nervous standing up, but something was telling me, get up there. So, but I'm glad that we have this going on. But don't give up on God. He's there for you every minute. Thank you.
Okay, Nancy's going to speak.
Hi, I'm Nancy. I'm an addict. I hadn't really meant to speak here tonight. I just came over to be supportive of the efforts, but I find myself going down my addictive cycle to being with my dad, who drank alcohol. He drank alcohol in his lifetime, but the last year of his life was most miserable. He got a DWI. He tested .24, and everything went downhill from there. And I was the last person that loved my dad. I would do anything for him. I lied for him. I hid bottles for him. I would listen to him for hours, not knowing what he was talking about. But, the day I turned my back and went out and played with my friend, he ended up killing himself in our house with our family present. He ended up killing himself with a gun. And I was told by my mother not to talk about it. Don't. And my kids are doing fine. We're told how to feel about it. So I guess pushed my feelings down and came depressed for the next 4 years. And I went to Miami when I got out of school. I went to Miami and I got involved with opiates, quaaludes, and coke. And I came up, I spent 4 years down there going to college, and I came up here to escape from it all. My boyfriend was a drug dealer, so I guess I was running away from him. And I got married soon after college. I graduated from Geneseo, and I got married soon after college. Got a job. My husband couldn't have alcohol, so we drank interspersely. We would have some beers, but it was only once in a while because we haven't much money. And he was psychiatrically disabled. Got a job, and I married him. We had 2 beautiful kids, and at 35, I went back to get my second master's degree in social work, and I got addicted. Shortly after that, I was teaching college. One of my friends who was coming to my classes introduced me to oxys and Ativan. And she supported me on her pills for a while. She was like, go to Dr. So-and-so and you get all the drugs you want. So I did, and I got a fair share. And then I got transferred over to the, telling my story, aren't I? I wasn't going to tell it. Actually, I get transferred over to the addictions department. I was running the mental health department, and I got transferred over to addictions, and I can't do anything that my clients, if I'm telling the clients not to do something, I can't be doing it. It's an anathema that with my social degree I can't do. So I got a hold of a friend who is 20 years in AA, and he prescribed going to AA meetings, and he introduced me to the one who had 20 years of AA, became my first sponsor. And I did use that program partially. I never drank alcohol since then. But I did use drugs.
Mm-hmm.
50 years ago, I had a stroke, and several seasons later, I became disabled and put in hospice. They thought I was going to die, and I graduated from hospice, so apparently I'm still fighting. God doesn't want me just yet.
Thank you, Nancy. At the opening here, I had said every single one of us has been affected somehow by substance use disorder. And my wife and I are part of that too. Without going into too much detail, as a parent of somebody who was seriously abusing alcohol, I remember a particular night where we got a telephone call from a girlfriend saying that my son was down in Kentucky, and we were living up in Buffalo at this time. My son was down in Kentucky on a job, and they can't find him. They don't know where he is. And the guys that he was with that were working there, they were working there. They left him. And knowing my son did have a problem with alcohol, I just remember another friend and I, we left, I think, at 10 o'clock that night to drive down to Kentucky to a hotel room. And I'm on my cell phone talking to the hotel manager. Can you at least check on him? Can you find him? Calling the police department. Can you do a mental hygiene check? And when they found him, pleading with the doctor in the emergency room, can you keep my son until we get there? And I just remember him saying, well, we can't well, we can't keep him because he's using a bed. And I said, I'm not trying to keep him there for any other reason, just I'm trying to keep my son alive. When I left to go to Kentucky, I didn't know if I was bringing my son home. I just don't know if he's going to be alive or dead. Thankfully, he's alive. He's doing well. He did great in rehab. He went through rehab when he was during COVID, so it was lockdown, so he couldn't go anywhere. So there were a lot of bad things happened during COVID, but I praise God for that. But I just want, again, every one of us are affected by that. Every one of us will have some story. We are not alone in any stretch of the imagination. We are all intertwined in this. So at this time, I'd like to be able to say that there is support for us. There is support for people that have this disorder. And for right now, this is where I'm going to introduce to you Sean from AIR. in Casa. He's going to do all the talking with us. You want to come up here? That'd be awesome, all right? But this is Sean, and he'll do all the introductions and all that. Thank you, sir. Yeah.
Oh. Hey, y'all. Sean Smith, Director of Recovery Services at Casa Trinity, and I run the AIR program. And for those of you that don't know what AIR is, it stands for Adventures in Recovery. And anything can be an adventure. You know, recovery is an adventure. It's a real adventure. You know, listen to your guys' stories. Wow. I love people in recovery. The strength found in this room, in this collective, is stronger than any epidemic that's sweeping the country. You know, this recovery movement that's happening right here in Dansville is stronger than any epidemic that's happening in the country. You know, we've witnessed a lot of pain, a lot of death. But those of us in recovery, we've turned that pain into our strongest asset. You know, and down at AIR, you can find us helping each other. We've built our tribe. This recovery community organization, it belongs to Casa, but it's really yours. You guys have built it. You know, me, Dave, Chris, John, Joyce, we're just there to help you facilitate what you all want to do, you know? And Lydia. I'm afraid I'm going to miss someone's name. But down there, you know, anything you can think of, we do. Art, game night, movie night, hikes, bike rides, kayaking. We get outside and we enjoy nature together. I don't know about you guys, but I find my higher power out in nature. And when you watch somebody who's got 2 days clean walking on a trail with someone with 30 years clean, Dave, you're able to watch the magic happen. That's where the magic happens. And like a conversation may start about, you know, I think your dog's cute, but it always comes back to recovery and how that person with 30 years sober did it. And this person with 2 days clean is able to pick and choose from different people's recoveries, because we don't recover the same way, you know. We all recover in different ways. And that's what's awesome about this recovery community organization is we're able to come together and show people new to recovery what recovery can look like, how we did it, and how we can help you do the same thing. Anytime I go out and talk about AIR, I talk about the mountain story. You know, we're up in the Adirondacks and we're climbing Whiteface Mountain. And the night before, this girl showed up. She had 2 days clean, literally, barely. She was coming from a fish show in New York City. And I was doing the gear check the night before the hike. And she had all the right stuff, North Face everything. She had nice winter boots, Patagonia gear. And I'm like, this girl's good to go. And we got out on the hike, and we got about a half mile in, and this girl was in fact not good to go. She says, this is too hard. You guys keep going. You're better than me. I'm going to go back to the car where it's comfortable. And I encouraged her. I said, well, how about you get to the mile mark and see where you're at? And she agreed. She got to the mile mark, and it was the same business. This is too hard. I can't do it. It's impossible. How are you guys doing this? And I said, well, how about you get to the 2.5 mile mark? We'll get to the halfway point, and if at that time you want to go back, you can go back to where it's comfortable. And she said, okay, I'll get to the 2.5 mile mark. When we got to the 2.5 mile mark, it was the same business. I'm not good enough. This is impossible. You people are better than me. Go ahead. I'm going to go back to where it's comfortable. But at this point, everyone who was on the hike, about 10 people, knew what was going on, and they rallied around this woman. They cross-loaded all of her gear. They carried her water, and eventually somebody ended up carrying her backpack, and they got her up that mountain. And I tell this story because isn't that recovery? We have this daunting task in front of us, this mountain that looks impossible. It's the scariest thing in the world. We don't want to do it. We want to stay comfortable. in the pain that we know, but we have these people saying, no, we're going to keep moving forward. You're going to move with us. We're going to get to the top of the mountain. You're going to stay clean and sober. And the coolest thing about that story is that girl, to this day, is still sober. And that was 9 years ago, So, that's what we do at AIR. We show people that recovery is possible, that it's fun, Recovery is fun. When I first got sober, I thought my life was over. I had no idea how to do it, and it was the scariest thing I ever had to do, but you people showed me how to do it, and I thank you for that. So come down, check us out. It's open to anyone. It's designed for people in recovery, but it's open to anyone with 48 hours of continuous sobriety. Family members, friends, community supporters, whoever you need to bring to walk through that front door, you bring. Our motto is on the back of our shirts, walk through fear. I remember going to my first AA meeting and sitting in the parking lot and just sweating, and I didn't go in. And I did that for probably 10 AA meetings before somebody came out to the car, yanked me and said, let's walk through the door together. Because the door weighs 1,000 pounds, I know that. So whatever you need to do to get down there, bring your girlfriend, bring your boyfriend, bring your sister, your cousin, I don't care. Bring your dog. Come through the door and join us, okay? Thank you.
Thank you, my friend. At this time, we're going to have Matt come up as he smiles that smile.
You got it. I can. We'll hold it for after, though. Hi, everyone. My name's Matt, and I am an addict. I don't think I can really compare to, the two that we've had before, but I'm going to wing it, and we'll see what happens. So, drugs, yeah. I thought I had found it. That was from the earliest age, from the first drug I took. That was it. I had found something in my life that nobody else in the entire world was going to find, because this was my special thing. And I held on to that special thing for a long time, through all the signs that, maybe this thing is more than what you think it is. Through all the pain, I held on to it, because this is my thing. This is I will have it my whole life. So I always felt very uncomfortable in my own skin. So thinking about, before I came into recovery, doing this, what I'm doing right here, no, never, never. And just, I didn't feel like I was, even worthy of love, even from my own parents. And I didn't have, an outright traumatic childhood or anything like that. I had two really loving parents, still do, a great family. There was just something in me that I didn't belong. And when I found those drugs, that fixed that immediately. And not only did it fix that problem, but it made me somebody who I thought I wanted to be. Confidence, everything. That's what I got from that, from those drugs. And yeah, I went a long time with it. I crashed and burned, stole from my family, did awful things to, people who were my friends, and I lost a lot, a real lot, and I didn't really, care to get it back, because at that time I still had the drugs. That's my thing. I still got it, so we're good. We're ready to play. And yeah, I remember I did it all. I talked to counselors, went to rehabs. None of it worked. I would always, I'd get a little bit of clean time, and I'd always go back. I couldn't understand why why it would. I just figured this is who I am. You know, you kind of even start to lean into it a little bit. You know, this is just who I am. You know, you kind of accept the hand that you're dealt. And then I came to another rehab, not by my own will. Luckily for me, as I told you, I have a great family, and they kind of forced me into another treatment. And in that treatment center, I found the rooms here, specifically NA, and that has filled my life greatly to this day. And it wasn't exactly an easy transition. I went to Catholic school. Had a great childhood by all means. You know, I had everything I could want. So I had exposure to God, which actually I think kind of worked against me. I was a little resentful. You know, I had thought that I had too much God in my life because it was forced on me as a child. So when I got freedom, when I was, you know, got some age and got some freedom, I did the opposite. You know, I didn't think I was, you know, atheist through and through. You know, I am the ultimate ruler over me. And in rehab is exactly where that line of thought got me every time. But I had become such a broken person, you know. We talk about this loss and losing people, and it's really, really sad because, you know, all these people, they have so much more, you know, to their life, and they die every single day, and I was given another chance, you know, I can't tell anybody, you know, why I was given that chance other than to say that, you know, God's good. He's given me, this program gives me a reason to keep doing the right thing. I wouldn't have any of the beautiful things I have in my life, and even you know, in death, I think one of the hardest parts of addiction is watching these people that we love and our own selves become, we're dead people walking. And that's, to me, when I became, that was me, and I woke up every day wanting to be in the ground. That's powerful stuff, and I think that spiritual death is so much more than the physical death, you know, because it's like living hell. It's exactly what it is. But when I came into that rehab and got some exposure to the program, it wasn't easy. It wasn't. It's you know, you're asking these people who are coming into recovery to give up their thing, you know, for an unknown, which is, I think, the unknown to a lot of people is scary, you know. And I had become so beat down, though, and so absolutely sick of the way I was living, that fear was a lot less than the fear of continuing to live like this, because I'd done all I could to make sure I wasn't gonna wake up and live this spiritual death again. But I kept doing it. I kept waking up for some reason. Today I know that God's the reason why I kept going. But I came to the program through rehab, and one of the first people I met once I got clean and got to know really well is sitting in the front row there, and he says, go to the meeting that's in Dansville. And when I first came to this meeting, it was just me and one other person, and I thought to myself, uh-oh, what am I getting into here? I don't know if this is really for me, and I kept coming back, because I still in my head, that pain of being out there. I couldn't go back to that, I can't, it's death. I know exactly where it leads to. And I kept coming back, and we kept having some more people come in, and we've had tragedies and a lot of victories, and we have so many great people that are in this room, and they've given me everything. I've gotten back all that I've lost, plus countless blessings, you know, that I can be of service to somebody else. I don't have to live my life in complete selfishness, and it's hope, you know. That's what it is. And even though, you know, we lose people every day to this stuff, we still have our meeting, and we still have meetings everywhere. And that's where the hope is, you know, because if I can do it, I think anybody can. And going through the things that we've been through as addicts, it makes us the most powerful tool out there, because we can really drag people out of the hole, because we've been down there. And thanks for letting me share tonight.
Definitely some good words there. Now we turn to our time of hope. And this is a time when I don't feel adequate to be able to speak on this. But it's just a time that for anybody who's feeling that there's no light at the end of the tunnel, or that light is a train, that's false. That's a lie. That there is a light, and it is a good light. So at this time, this is where we're actually going to hold the candlelight portion of our candlelight vigil. So if I can get the torch keepers, and here we're going to be lighting the candles. You can come on. Just give everybody a couple minutes. This is phenomenal. So at this time, the light's out except for up here. Megan's going to read for us a poem, Footprints in the Stand.
Hi everyone, I'm Megan. I'm an alcoholic and an addict in recovery. This feels dangerous, having a microphone and fire. I tend to talk with my hands, so we'll see how this goes. All right. I'm just going to take a moment of silence. One night, I dreamed I was walking along the beach with the Lord. Many scenes from my life flashed across the sky. In each scene, I noticed footprints in the sand. Sometimes, there were 2 sets of footprints. Other times, there was only one. This bothered me because I noticed that during the low periods of my life, when I was suffering from anguish, sorrow, or defeat, I could see only one set of footprints. So I said to the Lord, "You promised me, Lord, that if I followed you, you would walk with me always. But I have noticed that during the most trying periods of my life, there has only been one set of footprints in the sand. Why, when I needed you most, Have you not been there for me? The Lord replied, the years when you have seen only one set of footprints, my child, is when I carried you. This poem speaks of hope. And though we do lose people in this disease, nothing is ever wasted in God's world. All of you that are here are the hope. We are the ones that carry the memory of those that we have lost forward into life. Because that's what this hope is for me, is a chance at a new life. When I surrender myself to my God, anything is possible. Nothing can stand in my way. I have dreams, hopes, and aspirations of helping people with my story today. And I know that when I walk with my God, anything is possible. I'm talking about hope tonight because when I first came to this NA meeting, it was April of 2018. I had been on the streets of Syracuse for 2 years. I finished and completed the only rehab I ever did, and I walked down those stairs to that meeting and I sat down. I stayed for 2.5 years. I did the steps, I got a sponsor, I worked with other people, I was going into CASA, same as I do now, what up peeps? And despite all of that, besides all of that action, I stopped with the spiritual part of the program. I stopped with the spiritual action. I started taking my burdens back and carrying things myself, thinking that I had the power to do so, when in fact, this led to my relapse. In July of 2020, I sat down in that meeting and I talked about how I was starting to feel that hopeless feeling again, that pit of despair in my stomach, emptiness, nothing would fill it. The reason that it wasn't filled any longer was because I had stepped away from my God. He never walked away from me, never, not once. He was there waiting. It was I who turned away. Every time it was I who turned away. I went out for 7 months. I went back to an abusive relationship. And after 7 months, I knew that I couldn't do it anymore. I was done. It was a different bottom than the first time I came in. This time, it was a spiritual bottom, like Matt talked about. I was broken and empty in a way that I had never felt before. So I came back to the only place that I knew the solution was. I came back to the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous and Narcotics Anonymous. I came back, and the moment that I turned back to my God, he was right there. Right there. I didn't have to wait a heartbeat. I came back in, I did the steps again, I got a sponsor, and I found freedom again. True freedom in a different way than I had felt before. And the reason for that is because this time I make it a habit, a pleasure, and an honor to wake up every morning and start my day talking to God. I surrender my will to him, I ask him what he would have me do for the day, and I move on from there. I don't live in the past or the future anymore. I live in the moment with my God, because when I am there, fear cannot strike me. I am safe and protected always. So that's what I want to leave you guys with, is hope. Hope that even in the face of death, there's always hope. There's always the light. The light is always brighter than the darkness.
Trying to walk too fast. Thank you so much. Thank you, Megan. At this time, I'd like everybody to stand up. And we're actually going to repeat the Serenity Prayer.
God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Amen.
Say, and let's just take a moment of silence just to take in everything that we've heard tonight, everything we felt tonight. I want to close this vigil with a saying from St. Francis of Assisi. And it says, "All the darkness in the world cannot extinguish the light of a single candle." So let this candle be a reminder that a single candle, no matter how small, cannot be defeated by darkness. And because of that, there is always hope. This is your candle. Take this. Hold on to it. Light it when you need hope. This is your candle. Because again, a candle can never be defeated by darkness. I want to say amen. But I'm going to say, and this is going to conclude our vigil. And thank you all for coming. This was a true blessing.
Before you all leave,
Oh.
I'm Joanne. I've been here for 12 years with these people in NA, and they are the best people around. The reason that we are having this, because they need our support. Not just each other, but they need us also. So if there's anybody you know, reach out, give them a hug, say hello, ask them if they need something. They've got to go someplace, but help us, help them. Thank you.
God bless. We'll turn the lights on. And remember,